Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the podcast Encounters with English. My name is Cristian Alejandro Andrade Cespedes, and today I'll be the host of this podcast. First of all, I want to mention that I'm joined by Kelly Johana Guerrero. In this podcast, we're going to talk about some key points about our relationship with English, experiences, and first encounters with this language. Now, to start, our first point is when and how you start learning English. Well, Kelly, tell us.
Okay, let me begin uh, by telling you about how I start. Since I was very young, I've always been interested in language. English caught my attention early on, and I began learning at school. But what really made me the difference for was exploring outside the classroom, through music, movies, and just being curious.
Okay, that's interesting. In my case, regarding the first point, I consider that my first learnings were almost involuntary, since when I was younger, around 6 or 7 years old, I used to play a lot of old video games that only came in English at my first learning, and were things like retry, continue, press start on all those words that I could relate to Spanish, because when doing a certain action, a certain thing would happen. So the first learnings were that mainly vocabulary. The second point is the key challenges and how you overcome them. So, Kelly.
Learning English hasn't been easy all the time. One of my biggest challenges was speaking without fear. I used to feel nervous and afraid of making mistakes. And how about you?
Well, about the challenges, I think that have really caused problems are the listening challenges. That is, the listening is for me the most difficult skill to work on. About the speaking and writing or reading, the listening is what I find most complicated. To cope with this, I have tried to watch films in English, talk to foreigners through audio, practice with friends, listening songs in English, and try to make sure that anything that can be heard in English is here in English. And okay, the next point is the effective strategies that help you improve.
Um, I also listened to a lot of music, watch series with subtitles, try to repeat phrases or expressions. Um, it made learning fun and part of my daily routine.
Okay, it's a good strategy. In my case, I think that an effective strategy is, for example, configure your entire environment in as much English as possible. That is, your movies or series, the songs you listen to, the books that you read, practicing with others, or even the language settings on your phone in English is extremely useful for learning, especially if you want to practice your listening and expand your vocabulary. Although, of course, this is not magic and can be useful if your way of learning is the repetition. About the next point is memorable experiences related to learning English.
Okay, I remember helping a tourist once. We spoke in English, and it felt so good to be able to help someone and realize that I could really communicate.
Okay. From my perspective, the truth is that I don't consider myself to have memorable experiences with English. That I is to say, it is not a language that I use with others in my personal or social environment. That is to say, it's almost impossible to find someone who speaks English in acceptable way. In acceptable way. For now, it's only working for me searching for information, communicating only with foreigners, and in my teaching practices, which have been an interesting practice, although I wouldn't say that it has been good or bad. Uh, about the final point is your current level and the future goals in English proficiency.
Right now, I say my level is intermediate. I can understand a lot of express myself, but I still want to grow, especially when it comes to using English in more formal or academic situations.
Okay, that's good. Uh, I wouldn't know how to define if my current English is level B1 plus or B2, since these two are quite similar. According to some tests, such as the EF that I have to take at the university, I regularly get a B2. So I will consider that to be the level. Now. My future goals are generally to improve my comprehension. The communicating is not something that is especially complex for me. I said when I want to use a word that I don't know or I don't know how to say. For now, my goal is improve my grammar, my listening, and my writing, since I consider that these are the weakest points that I have as a speaker of a second languages. Well, that is all. Thank you for listening, and we will talk with you in other time. Okay, bye bye.
Bye.